Warning, the following video may contain adult language and themes. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. If you have a problem with this, please stop playing this video now. So hey, just got done watching a horror movie and just wanted to pop on here real quick and give you my thoughts. Just to make another vlog entry. It's called Wrong Turn 4. Bloody Beginnings. Yes, there are a shitload of Wrong Turn movies for some reason. And I believe the majority of them are actually direct to DVD. If I'm not mistaken, actually, I think the second one onward are all direct to DVD. Actually, I don't even know how many there are. I think there's 5. I could be wrong about that, but I believe there's 5 of them, which is a shitload. Like, why are there so many Wrong Turn movies? These movies aren't that good. I will say, though, of the ones I've seen, there's at least something that's kind of interesting in each of them. So, like, none of them, from the ones I've seen so far, are a complete waste. So I will say that much. Anyway, this is called Wrong Turn 4, Bloody Beginnings. It was released in 2011, and I'm assuming this, by the title, Beginnings, I'm assuming this is a prequel of sorts. It has a 4.4 on Internet Movie Database, rated R, of course. Is 93 minutes long, which is a good length for a horror movie like this. And it's directed by Declan O'Brien. I think that name sounds somewhat familiar. I think he may have done some of the previous ones, but I don't quote me on that. Some of the people who star in it are Jennifer Pudovic, some of these people you've probably never heard of, Tanika Davis, Caitlin Lieb, Tara Vanessa. Yeah, I don't recognize any of these people either, and I didn't recognize any of them by their faces. What would I give this movie? Honestly, I actually thought it was better than the previous one, Wrong Turn 3. I actually thought it was better. The script wasn't quite as stupid, and the actors weren't as bad as the previous one. What was the previous one? Yeah, Wrong Turn 3, Left 4 Dead. Yeah, it's not quite as bad as the last one. I'd say it's a little bit better. Out of 10, honestly, I'd probably give it a 6.2. It's slightly better than the last one. I will say, though, how would I describe this one? This is basically the previous one. This is literally the previous one, but with a slightly better acting and a slightly better script. That's basically all this is. So it's at least, the script and the acting are at least tolerable for the first half of the movie. In the second half, the script and the acting get worse and worse and worse until the final scene when I was just like, God damn, these people have just, the script just sucks. But, I don't think it ever got as bad as Wrong Turn 3, though. The premise, I'm going to give you a spoiler-free premise right here. Basically, it opens with this sanitarium, I think is what it's called, where, like, the criminally insane go to, and it tells about how this woman's going through the sanitarium, and I'm assuming she's a doctor, and this other doctor's introducing her to all the patients, and he's like, oh, and then there's these patients who you don't want to mess with. You don't even want to try to rehabilitate these guys because they're just beyond help, and they're the most dangerous patients, and they're in this cell, and they're basically deformed mutants, and I think there's like 3 of them or something, and he's like, and they can't feel pain, and they're inbred, and they're cannibals, and so that kind of explains, they have a rare condition where they can't feel pain, so that kind of explains, their freakish strength, in the previous movies, is that they just can't feel pain. So, and then one of the inmates actually grabs one of the women, the doctor who's a woman, and but she gets free, but he pulls one of her hairpins out, and they don't know about it, so they're like, okay, I'm going to show you the rest of the facility. So they walk along, and the inmate who has the hairpin throws the hairpin to the mutants, and they pick the lock, they escape, and they run rampant. And they shock the woman doctor to death, and they basically pull the man doctor apart by his limbs. It's a pretty good effect. So this movie actually opens pretty strongly. There's some really good effects. While all the inmates are running free and creating carnage, they're playing like this classical music. I think they're trying to do it to be funny, but it kind of got a little old. But it was a pretty promising opening, I thought. And then it cuts to this other storyline where it cuts immediately to the sex scene where these 2 college students are having sex. And so this man and this woman, and it's like, oh, wow, geez, this movie really knows what it wants to be. Like, that's what I'll say about these movies, is they at least know what they want to be. They're not, like I said, horror movies are either categorized as being really artsy or just satisfying the visceral level, meaning blood, tits, and gore. These movies know what they are. They're blood, tits, and gore. So, like I said, we see these two people having sex, and it pans over to these other two people having sex, and it turns out they're two women having sex. So basically, this movie starts out on a very high note. It's almost borderline a softcore porno at this point, so it at least knows what you want. You know, it's showing tits and ass in the opening scene, and these are basically just college students who are just having sex in their dormitory or something, and they decide to go out and on a skiing trip. I mean, on a snowmobiling trip, and they get on these snowmobiles and they drive off to have fun, and they're very reckless. They're like, "Oh, sure, our cars will be safe here. You know, there's a storm coming. Shouldn't we wait until it passes?" And this other guy's like, "No, fuck it, let's go. Let's just drive out there." And they kind of get lost, and they think all is lost because they're lost, but they stumble upon the sanitarium, and I believe it's like 30 years later. They go up there and they like, oh, we'll take shelter here, and they have some fun and they party. This is kind of where it, like I said, the opening scene is really good. Got some really good kills there. Then it goes to like the sex scene, which is good, you know, satisfies. And then there's like this drought of just nothingness, of just these college students just having what's the word? Fooling around in the sanitarium, just like, you know, riding the wheelchairs around and drinking, and it's not bad. It's just really ho hum. Like the acting by these college students isn't bad at first, and the script ain't bad, but it's just kind of, can we move it along? Can we get to the kills? Can we move it along? Until like the halfway point, they just do this shtick where they just party in the sanitarium and they just do all this stupid stuff, and it's like, can we move it along? And eventually, though, you know, the deformed mutants come back to the sanitarium. They're living there now, I suppose, and people start getting, you know the drill, people start getting picked off one by one, and soon, you know, everybody's freaking out, oh, there's mutants, and they start running away from mutants. That's basically the premise of this movie, and it's a battle for survival. So that's, I probably spoiled too much, but that's your basic premise. And so there's a huge drought in the middle of the movie where there's just no violence and no tits and ass, so it's just kind of boring. Then we get to the violence, and yeah, and there didn't seem to be enough violence in this movie either. It seemed like in the previous one there was more violence, and to a better degree. And eventually, what they do is they capture the three mutants in a cell. They do this really stupid thing where they it basically comes to the point where they get picked off, where there's only like girls left. There's like 3 girls left and a guy. So it's like, really, you don't have much muscle there. But they somehow managed to chase the 3 mutants into a cell and lock them in there. All the women like wield knives. And it's like, really? I don't think I'd run away from those women. They look really stickly and spindly, and I don't think those mutants would be intimidated by the women. But they still run away, and they lock them in this prison cell. And the guy's like, oh, we should torture them, we should kill these guys now, kill these motherfuckers. And this one of the bitches is like, no, we can't do that, because then you're just as bad as them. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm already like annoyed with this bitch, because it's like, dude, are you actually trying to, you know, use the humanity argument against these cannibals who've already eaten, yes, I've said it, eaten some of your friends? I mean, God, really? You know, if they escape, in which I know they will, all the deaths that happen because of that are on your head. And it was at that point, after that, I was like, dude, I just don't care about these characters anymore, because they're just asking for it. They don't kill them. They have people stand watch and guard the 3 mutants locked up in the cell, and surprise, surprise, the mutants left the hairpin in the cell, and they break out again, and they run after everybody else, and they kill almost everybody else. And I'm like, god damn, I just don't care about these characters anymore, because they're so fucking stupid. And so it ends up, I'm not going to spoil all the details. Well, there's my spoiler-free review right there. And the script, after the halfway point, gets really bad. Like, it's hard to explain how bad the script is, but it just doesn't feel natural. You know, the way these people talk after the halfway point, it just gets really, really bad. I'm going to get into spoilers here now, but my spoiler-free review is probably 6.2 out of 10. But what ends up happening is that 2 girls survive, and they're riding away on on one of the ski mobiles, and you think they're going to get away, and at the last minute their heads fly off, get cut off, because there was a barbed wire fence that they didn't see, and before their heads get cut off, they shout, "Oh no!" and their heads fly off. It's like, what? You're not going to be able to shout, oh no, before your heads get cut off by barbed wire as you're riding on a snowmobile. It's just going to happen. You're not going to even know it. Oh, that's how bad the script was. They go, oh no, and their heads fly off. Like, what? Oh my god. Like, the script, yeah, it gets really bad, but it's slightly better than the previous one, I would say. Anyway, so that's my spoiler. That's my review. Oh, it's called Wrong Turn 4: Bloody Beginnings, released in 2011. So I guess it's not as bad as the previous one though. Anyway, okay. Thanks. Bye.